Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. Hope you're all having a great weekend so far. My name's Hrabchak. In a moment, I'll be joined by my co-host Lyss Houde, and together we're breaking down a Winnipeg Jets win against the Colorado Avalanche, just like we all predicted yesterday. 3-1 down at Canada Life Center. Connor Hellebuyck with a great performance, bouncing back for him after just posting 11 saves against the New York Rangers on Thursday night. Hellebuyck with a great bounce back performance. Iafallo gets a goal. Kyle Connor scores. Perfetti with the empty netter. And the Jets defeat the Colorado Avalanche 3-1. A bit of a shocking result as the Jets continue their homestand. And they're going to do that again today. And that is continue their homestand today at 2 o'clock down in Canada Life Center. As the St. Louis Blues are in town, the Blues are actually red hot as of late. So when we preview that game a little bit later on in the program, we'll talk about the St. Louis Blues and what's working so well for them coming out of the break, because they're flying up the standings, which if your team tank is a good thing. You want the St. Louis Blues on a heater right now, and they're absolutely doing that. So let's bring in my co-host for her thoughts on last night's game, see how her weekend's going so far. Lyss, how you doing so far? I know you had your sister's social last night. Bit of a battle. Sunday at 9 a.m. Tough time slot, but you're here. You made it.
I'm here. And it helps not a drop of liquor in the system, so it's simply hungover on life. There's nothing else going on there. So
Nice.
I'm here just dialed to talk about yesterday's game. It was so funny.
Dialed.
Social was a great time. It was so wonderful to see so much support for my sister and her fiance, but we were working all morning to get everything kind of set up. And then I was like, guys, I'm sorry, but I gotta watch this Jets game in this middle chunk of the afternoon. It worked out perfectly because we set up the hall, left, and then I went back later immediately after the Jets game was over. But I got to sit down and watch the absolute Connor Hellebuyck masterclass on a wonderful Saturday afternoon on Hockey Night in Canada. So not sure who has it better than me right now. I'm pretty sure nobody has it better than me. But
Nobody.
Happy to be here chatting about it.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where the game starts for me, is Connor Hellebuyck. The top line was also solid in their efforts. They went up against the McKinnon line, the Nelson line, those kind of things. And I thought Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo was actually a solid trio in that game. The defense core, I mean, like, you got to give credit to Connor Hellebuyck first and foremost for a lot of the great saves that he did make. But also, I thought the Jets defense core did a good job. Like, Colorado took a ton of shots from the point, ton of shots from the outside, looking for those layered screens. List. I was thinking, like, if 4 or 5 of these had gone in, this would just be a flashback to the playoff series where every single layered screen from the point felt like it went in. They were going for that. The Jets did a good job, I thought, blocking shots, getting in the lane, clogging things up, making sure Hellebuyck could see things, clearing the front of the net. So I didn't think it was a complete, like, goalie steal, but at the same time, I mean, you play that game over. Again, it's Colorado. Like, they're very good. They're controlling play. That's what they do. But I thought Hellebuyck was great. I thought the top line was great. And I thought the defensive structure actually had some moments where they handled things properly against the McKinnon and the McCarrs of the world. Liz, I don't know if you agree.
Yes and no. I think that the big thing that I saw was that, yeah, Colorado just had more time to do everything. Like, you want to talk about, who had more of these types of chances or those types of chances. Like, they were in the ozone for pretty much that entire game. Like, that had to have been one of the more dominant spreads of
For sure.
shot possession time for a team I've seen in a really long time. And, I think you're right in saying that there were some moments where I thought the decor looked good. I think the thing that I want to compliment the most about the Jets is that it felt like when they did jump on pucks, on rebounds, or they won puck battles or whatever, they were actually pretty quick to get it out of their zone. I didn't mind them in transition in a lot of this game. They ended up creating some odd man rushes, couple different things like that. But how do I say this? The sample was large of how many pucks there were to recover. So we got to see more, good recoveries, quick transitions, stuff like that than normal. But it's because Colorado spent so much time in the zone, and there were also so many that the Jets didn't recover. There were so many secondary chances on the rebounds, so many, like, Connor Hellebuyck swimming in his crease, making miraculous saves and stuff like that. Yeah. Just all in all, just a higher sheer volume of different types of shots, mostly in zone. There wasn't like a ton of odd man rush stuff going on for Colorado or anything like that, but slot driving plays, cycle plays, all these different things. And so when there's a sheer volume that is so much larger than what we're accustomed to, you're going to see more of the bad and more of the good. So when focusing on more of the good, yeah, definitely in agreement with you on that. But as it pertains to the spread of the game. I don't give the D-core a lot of credit for much of that win, to be honest with you.
Sure. No, that's fair. I do like the rebound point that you brought up, though, because I felt like there were a lot of strong chances. And I will say, too, to give them a little bit of credit on this front, how many odd man rushes do you think Colorado had? Like, I didn't think it was just 2-on-1 McKinnon Natchez coming down. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was just a run and gun open style that Connor Hellebuyck was making all these crazy saves. There's a lot of in zone offense for Colorado, and I think that helps. Yeah. I think that helps quite a bit against a team with that speed and that talent up front, especially with McKinnon, Natchez, Kadri now, Brock Nelson, all of that stuff. And Colorado, I mean, look, they've been so dominant all season long, but the Dallas Stars are 13-0-1 in their last 14 or something like that, something insane. And the Central Division is actually in play right now. I mean, Colorado has a game in hand, and they are 3 points up on the Dallas Stars, so they're definitely in the driver's seat still. And they've had a number of great stretches throughout the season, kind of like Dallas's, which they're 13-0-1 right now in their last 14. But Dallas, I mean, they're rolling right now. If Colorado loses a couple more games, all of that stuff, Dallas they're right there. They're absolutely right there. So that game for Colorado was a big one. They stomped the Seattle Kraken on Thursday night, and then there was that story that came out that they were at the airport and on the plane on the tarmac for like 8 hours, and didn't get in till 1 a.m. and then had to play the game. So there was a lot happening there from the Colorado side of things as they dropped that one, but absolutely maybe deserved a better fate as they lose 3-1 to the Winnipeg Connor Hellebuycks. Lyss, how about that Cole Perfetti empty netter? I tweeted out in the moment, if there is such a thing as a nasty empty net goal, Cole Perfetti just scored it. I was like, that is it. You strip the puck from Nathan McKinnon and you like Bobby Orr, like diving shoot it the length of the ice into the net. I was like, that's sick. And it did make me think back to a time where Cole Perfetti's nights used to end with 10 minutes left. He used to get the pat on the shoulder from the coaching staff and say, you're done. We're protecting this lead. You can go hit the showers. Your night is over. It made me think back to a time where he wasn't trusted late in games. And look, the Jets won a lot of games doing that. So I'm not saying that was a bad decision at the time, but I would like to just give Cole Perfetti some credit, protecting a lead late in games, stripping the puck from a Hart Trophy candidate and shooting it the length of the ice into the empty net. Not something everyone can do. Props to Cole Perfetti, who used to be benched late in games protecting a lead, for being the guy that's protecting the lead and doing it at a high level against Colorado.
Yeah, you want to give Cole Perfetti some credit? I'm here. I'll participate in this conversation. Yeah, I think it was something I flagged right away because I want to say that was his second shift with the net pulled for Colorado. I think that he'd already been out there once. That it was just super, super extended. But all that's to say, I noticed him and he was out there for a while, with his regular line. And like you said, normally there was a time when he would have just been kind of stapled to the bench and they would have juggled the lines and stuff like that. And it's not like any of the lines were just like awesome, dominating the share of everything in that game just because nobody dominated that game. But they totally could have split them up and put out they could have done a Barron, Scheifele, Connor, whatever that other line was that they were using, and they didn't. And it was awesome. I absolutely loved the read that he made there. Obviously, Nathan McKinnon has to, take some riskier chances or whatever, and he's in like sheer offense mode where I need to stop saying the word sheer today. I don't know what's going on, but he's in pure offense mode, right? So he's looking for all of his different options and everything like that, and just seeing that teeny tiny lapse where you can just jump on it and actually execute on that. Like, oh my gosh, it was so cool to see that kind of one-on-one battle in real time. And then, you're totally right. The flying Bobby or whatever you want to call it. I always joke that when you watch some of these guys that I consider to be, smart guys, smart players, I watch that goal and I'm like, that guy took grade 11 physics. That guy took a physics class in high school. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So shout out to him for that. And then he almost scored again at the end of the game too, because they put him right back out there.
How do you miss that, man?
Yeah, maybe I never said he passed the high school physics class. He took it,
right?
Though.
Yeah. That one, like, the funny part is you strip the puck from Nathan McKinnon, and as you're falling, you shoot it the length of the ice to score an empty netter. The second one was wide open. Like, there was a defenseman to shoot around, but he absolutely had room. and he just missed. He just flat out missed. Like, I don't even know how to explain that. He definitely, Scardino joked after the game. He chuckled. He was like, yeah, he definitely should have had two on the empty netter. He absolutely should have. That second one was a layup, but he missed it. And that would have been his 10th of the year. Cole Perfetti obviously started the year on injured reserve with the high ankle sprain, has come back and is scoring a lot since, the start of January, let's say. His production has absolutely picked up. Another player whose production, well, I guess hasn't really picked up, it's just remained consistent all year long, Liss, is Kyle Connor, who scored his 30th goal of the season. That's the 8th time in his career he scored 30 goals. The one time he played a full season and he didn't score 30 goals, COVID. He had 26 goals in 56 games or whatever, which is well over a 30-goal pace over an 82-game season. He gets his 30th on Mark Scheifele's 50th assist, and then Mark Scheifele sets a career high in assists with his 51st on Alex Iafallo's goal, where Iafallo goes directly to the front of the net, as you astutely pointed out on Twitter, and bangs home a rebound. And to me, I mean, like, this line of Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo wasn't very impressive to me the last couple of games, and then they come out and, to me, had a strong performance in this game. But, I mean, maybe I'll just give you the floor to speak on Kyle Connor's 30-goal season once again. Death taxes and Kyle Connor tucking 30. And then Mark Scheifele, career high in assists, which goes hand in hand with Kyle Connor scoring 30 in game 64 or 5 or whatever we're in.
It was a weird game in terms of line matching. I don't know if you noticed the same thing, but it was almost non-existent. It felt like to me where it was like every now and then, out would come the Connor Scheifele line, and they were out there against McKinnon, but then the next shift they wouldn't be and everything. And then they had like partial shifts and everything that just felt a little bit kind of discombobulated, but maybe by design, because it felt like depending on who was out there, the line was able to create a little bit more, a little bit less, whatever. But yeah, they felt like they were creating a ton off the rush, which I feel like I brought this up multiple times over the course of the season, where it feels like that's been a little bit more involved in their style of play when they've been playing well, is that kind of rush game. I know they're so known for their cycle play and all those different, you put the pressure down and then you select your shot. And when you have one of the best goal scorers in the world, you're allowed to be really particular with your puck placement and choosing your shot, as opposed to, just peppering, try to tuck rebounds and cycling like that. It's pretty cool to see that player continue to do what he's so good at, and that level of consistency in terms of actually putting up those goals on the scoreboard is really fun. Obviously, to start off the year, the storyline with this team was that everyone else on this team stinks, and that line, when Gabe Larney was on it, they could still score tons of goals and everything. So obviously that put him on pace to have a career high there. I'm hoping for the day that we, rock the 100-point seasons for him or Mark Scheifele. I think it's overdue at this point, everything. But for the two of them and their milestones, like this was awesome work. Great distribution by Mark Scheifele, perfectly placed shot from Kyle Connor off the rush, not from his normal office, but still effective all the same. And yeah, the joke that I made on Twitter, Alex Iafallo just going right to the net, and he's kind of like the,
he knows his role.
On the line. He knows his role.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do, because there are going to be pucks coming out. There are going to be things to go do. That the guys in your line are going to want to shoot. So, yeah, I mean, this was a sick goal. This is one of my favorite non-empty net goals. Honestly, all three of the goals in this game were really, really, really nice. I liked them all. But yeah, I mean, Kyle Connor is just so unique in his ability to kind of find that soft ice, to use his own kind of quote, and find ways to turn shots into dangerous shots, and finding the angles and reading the goaltenders and all the different things that make goal scorers so good at what they do. And he does it on a consistent basis. And, maybe this is an off-season conversation, or this is a not post-game / game day edition of WST Sunday Live conversation, but I think he could do it with other distributors on his line too, and not just Mark Scheifele, right? Like, I think that he has that skill set that is so unique to him, and it isn't as reliant on perhaps specific line mates as people might think it is. We just don't actually know, because we've never gotten the chance to fully see it. But I think he's just got that ability to pull in those pucks and turn them into something pretty special.
Yeah, 100%. And look, like you said, earlier on in the season, there were a lot of 3-2, 4-2 losses for the Winnipeg Jets where the top line had 2 goals. And that has definitely tailed off a little bit. They've taken Velarde off that line because they weren't producing as much and all of that stuff. But like I said, Kyle Connor, in every single full season he's played, has put up 30 plus goals. Even the year where Ryan Strome, Neon Needham, and put him out for 25 games or whatever the number was, he tucked 30. The COVID year, he had 26 and 56. That's absolutely above a 30 goal pace. And every single other year, 31, 34, 38, 26, COVID year, 47 goals, 31, 34, 41. And then last night hitting 30. Very, very consistent goal scorer. This is why they gave him $96 million over the next 8 years with the contract kicking in next year. He's going to score 30 goals. You just know it. And last year especially, maybe it's tailed off a little bit this year, but I still think he has it in him. The defensive game took a huge step forward last year. So that's, why he got that big contract, 97 points as well. And you talk about Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor, maybe one of them getting 100 points list. Mark Scheifele is right around that pace. Kyle Connor too, but when you look at the Jets, per 82 game pace, last I checked, Mark Scheifele was up over 100. I'm going to double check it right now because I don't want to talk without double checking this. But do you think Mark Scheifele gets it done? 100 points this year.
Yeah, no.
No.
I don't know if I do. I think that, well, I shouldn't say that. Like, he definitely could. I just feel like
He's
it's
on
one of
pace
those
for
things
102.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think he's been on pace for a lot of his career, and I'm not saying that he like tails off at the end of the season or anything like that, but I'm sorry, and maybe we can get into this conversation soon. Games are going to start meaning a lot less to the Winnipeg Jets in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. To be honest with you, I think that, the playoff odds jumped up by a couple percentage points, depending on what model you look at yesterday after that win. If that win convinced you that the Jets are so back, I have some questions about what you saw in that one, but all that's to say, it's about whether or not you actually can physically get in and what that looks like on paper in terms of, where your odds are at. And they are back to having higher odds of getting into the playoffs than they are of winning the draft lottery. So that was my standout set of the game after Thursday's game, was that
Right.
that had flip-flopped. The Jets were now at a higher likelihood of getting the Gavin McKenna pick as opposed to making the postseason. But it's crazy how one win can just swing things at this point. But yeah, he definitely can. It's totally within the realm of possibility. Maybe when the pressure's off, they'll start, firing and different stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think if the Jets were pushing all the way till the end and it was statistically probable that they would, squeak into the playoffs or whatever, it'd be more likely. But I think that as the stakes begin to ramp up for everyone else and decrease for perhaps some others, they have a couple more games against Colorado down the stretch, who is now actually having to fight for that, first place matchup and everything like that. And you do not want to fall down to second in the Central if you're Colorado, because that's a very, very different matchup than what you're otherwise perhaps going to get and everything. I'm going to say no on that, but I'd love to be proven wrong, because that would be the first time he'd hit that milestone in his career. And it's, like I said before, it's overdue just in terms of, what his contribution is to this team on the stat sheet.
Yeah, no kidding. Just for argument's sake, I'll say he does it. These games meaning less down the stretch, I think, is a benefit.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Because Mark Scheifele then doesn't have to cross the red line. He can just hang out at the opposition
Isn't
blue
that what
line. Yeah. Hang out, fire some passes to Kyle Connor. He'll score some goals. It'll be a big celebration. I'll say he does it. But anyways, back to last night's game. We'll preview the upcoming game in just a moment, and I have a pretty fun Chud's Power Sports Power Poll that Lyss hasn't seen yet, so I'm going to get her live reaction to it, and then we've got segments coming up. You haven't seen it? Well, yeah, that you'll get a live reaction right here on WST Sunday Live. This is the content you come for. And then
the rest of this is scripted, by the way.
Yeah, the rest of it is entirely scripted. I give Lyss notes, tell her what to say, all of those things. We've got trending up, down, burning questions coming up a little bit later on as well. The Jets take on the Blues at 2:00 today. But last night's game against the Avs, like, there's always been this thing with the Winnipeg Jets where, or at least recently, but I feel like this has gone back when the Jets have had bad teams in the past. Last year doesn't count. They beat everyone. But I feel like when the Jets have been bad, they've, kind of played down to their competition, played up to their competition. And that is absolutely what happened at Canada Life Center this week. And to me, all that last night's win did, Lyss, was add to the frustration of this Winnipeg Jets season. And I know we just discussed it for 20 minutes. I know they didn't dominate Colorado. They didn't control the flow of play. They didn't show that they're this amazing team that can hang with the Avs. No, it was Connor Hellebuyck. Connor Hellebuyck was awesome. That I credited the defensive structure. There were some good plays from the top line, and they won a hockey game. But to me, coming out of the break, where it was well established on our show, on everyone's shows in this market, that they were going to have to go on a heater to make the playoffs a possibility. And look, they've gone 5-2-2 since the break. They're not on a heater. Coming into the homestand, they had won 3 straight, 2 of which were against Colorado and Vancouver in overtime. I get that. But also they beat Tampa Bay. And to me, this win just adds to the frustration of the Anaheim and the New York games. They're 6 points out of the playoffs right now. The Winnipeg Jets are. If they had maybe showed up against the Anaheim Ducks, maybe this is a 4-point gap. If they had maybe showed up against the New York Rangers, maybe this is a 2-point gap with the San Jose Sharks in action today and the Jets against the Blues today. The wins against Tampa and Colorado coming out of the break were the ones that we pointed to saying those are going to be the losses. You got to win every other game. Well, it actually turns out that they did win those games, and it's the New York Rangers at home that you lose to. The Jets beating the Avs, their playoff odds are 8% at hockeystats.com. They're 5.7% on Money Puck. If you think that this is going to spark some great run, great. If you think that they're still going to tank, great. Both ideologies right now are rightless because the Jets can lose to the Rangers and support the tank and also beat the Avs and give some people hope that there's some run on the horizon to make the playoffs right now. So to me, them beating the Avs as much as they probably didn't deserve to, and Connor Hellebuyck was awesome, but Connor Hellebuyck is a part of the team. He's the reigning MVP winner for a reason. To me, all it did was add to the frustration. And all I did was look back at this week where they no-showed against Anaheim and New York. We could do a full season autopsy right now. You look at the Toronto game where they were up 4-1 and blew that one. You look at the Ottawa home game where they were up with a goal with a minute left, gave up an empty netter, and lost in overtime. That's another one. There are so many games throughout this season where they just burned points. Don't even get me started on all the OT losses. But going into the homestand, we were all saying this team needs a heater. This team needs to win 7 of 8 or 8 of 8 to realistically talk about the playoffs. And the wins against Tampa and Colorado actually sparked a little bit of hope for the playoff thing. And we can all play the what if game. But just going back to Thursday's game against New York, you beat New York, which should be a relatively easy task if you're a playoff opponent at home. You're 4 points out today. 4 points out with San Jose in action. You win, they lose, you're 2 points out. It just felt, it feels so close yet so far. And a win against Colorado and a win against Tampa Bay with Ville Heinola and Isaac Phillips playing that game just adds to all the frustration. It's they're just playing up and playing down to all their opponents. I don't know if any of what I said resonates with you. A mushy middle team. A team that picks 12th. That's the identity of a team. Oh.
Wins and losses. And then, if you win more than you lose down the stretch, especially if, the pressure's off a little bit and you can just be the villain for other people, it could happen, whatever. at the end of the season, if we look at this and we're sitting here and it's like, okay, they have, 40 some wins and, perhaps 30 some, 40 some losses, whatever kind of thing. You look at that and you're like, yeah, darn, that's just a team that wasn't good enough. A lot of times when you're in, I don't know, junior hockey or other hockey leagues and stuff like that, people will look at like 5-game series, and it's not necessarily against any specific opponent, but it's like, what do we do for this next stretch of 5 games? So you set out a game plan, look into your opponents, whatever, and then you kind of reset, you go through it. Every single like 5-game series, whatever the Winnipeg Jets have played this year is so frustrating. Like it kind of falls into like, can you imagine how frustrating or wacky it would be to watch a team, lose their first 40 games of the season and then win their next 42. At the end of the season, you look at that, they're 42-40, and you're like, yeah, it's kind of like a mid-team, but the wackiness of the swings you went through is just like insane. I feel like that's where this falls with this group too, where it's like, right now the whole idea of going 5-2-2, whatever, it's like, oh, maybe that's a little bit better than they were, but that 11-game losing streak that they just randomly decided to go on in December and January,
Absurd.
It totally throws off, it recalibrates your expectation of the team and everything like that. Absolutely it did. But
yeah,
it totally is frustrating because this was the thing that everybody said from the beginning. I think, to quote Murat Atesh from The Athletic verbatim, it's like, this is not a true talent bottom team. We always knew that this whole, like, I understand everyone being on Team Tank and all this different stuff, but as the season progressed and we got more games to see of this team, they were never, ever, ever going to end this season 32nd in the league. I didn't believe that for a second. I believed it perhaps more than I believed in them making the playoffs, but I did not believe that this team was going to end the season in the basement. And so it's frustrating. If they had just ended the season where they're going to end the season, if they had played at that pace, within series of 5 games all year, and they just kind of stuck in that, 25 range or whatever, we wouldn't be as frustrated as those who are kind of looking at the team when they were in 32nd just a few, months ago. And they're like, that's the possibility, that draft pick, that whatever. Whereas, on the flip side, it could have been that they're all the way at the top and then they lose a million games in a row and all this different stuff. This is kind of a long rant for absolutely no reason to say, just the sequence in which these wins and losses have contributed to the frustrating narrative, as opposed to just like the record itself.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you went on a long rant, because unfortunately you were muted for about the first 10 to 15 seconds. That's my bad. No, fully my bad. Bad.
So
don't look at your mic. That's me. That's me. My bad. Waiters brings up a great comment though. I think that's Connor's first mute. I like that. I like that line of thinking, that's my first slip up ever. We'll run with that. Going back to that 11 game. Sorry.
I hate you.
Sorry. Going back to
it was so insightful, guys. The rest of it that you heard, I was thrown off because it was horrible. But the first 15 seconds were really good.
Right. That encapsulated the entire rant, unfortunately. How about the shutout loss to the St. Louis Blues? Which was Winnipeg Sports Talk
WST
Boston
night.
Tonight. Yeah. How about that? How about what my favorite one is? And I think we did what was the most heart-crushing or heartbreaking loss of the 11-game losing streak. We did a power poll coming out of it. I remember. I think this one was up there. Well, the Leafs game, I think, was number 1.
Yeah.
The Wild game.
Do you
December
remember 27th. My brother and I were talking about this yesterday.
3-2. And Dylan DeMello takes a penalty 200 feet away from the puck as Kyle Connor's shooting it into the empty net. And then the Wild score on the power play, win in overtime. Holy mackerel, man. You look at all of these games on this 11-game losing streak, they just burned so many points. It was so ridiculous. And look, the reality is they're 27th in the National Hockey League right now because they burned all of those points. And let's take a look at the standings. They've got St. Louis today, who's right behind them. This is a big game for the Tank if you're on that. Nashville on Tuesday, also a big game for the Tank if you're on Team Tank, because they're 1 spot ahead of the Winnipeg Jets. And then look, the New York game, I guess you could look with another lens. I'm talking about, if they had won, you look at that, maybe we're talking 4 points out on today's Sunday Live. Well, that was also a big loss for the Tank too. New York also went in and beat the Wild yesterday. So not the only bottom feeder to beat a Central Division powerhouse were the Winnipeg Jets. New York also did on the road. So look, there are 3 teams, Jets, Blues, Rangers, all tied at 64 points. The Jets play the Blues 2 more times this season, once at home, 1 on the road. They play the Rangers 1 more time this season next Sunday. We'll be doing a Game Day Sunday Live edition next Sunday as well. They also play Chicago 1 more time at the end of March. So look, if your team tank, you want them to put in a good effort and lose those games by 1 in regulation. That's probably what you are hoping for. And if you want the Winnipeg Jets to make the playoffs, well, ask them to show up at home against the New York Rangers. I don't think that's too much to ask for. Let's get to today's game, where they'll take on the St. Louis Blues, who are 7-2-1 in their last 10, absolutely rolling coming out of the break. And I saw that Robert Thomas has like 13 points in March in 10 games or something like that. He's absolutely rolling past the trade deadline. He's playing free, all of that stuff. What are you expecting from the St. Louis Blues today? I know we watched them from a distance, and so far this season it's been like, oh, Jordan Bennington has an .860 save percentage. Oh, their defense core, like a lot of guys are regressing. And you look up front, and maybe there's some injuries. Dylan Holloway's missed a lot of the season, and all of that stuff. What do you make of the St. Louis Blues going on a mini heater here, kind of coming out of the deadline? And are you expecting that team today?
Yeah, I mean, every single player who plays in the National Hockey League has a lot of pride, and they go out every single game, unless you're JT Miller, wanting to put in their best effort and win the
Just
hockey
a quick jab to
just
JT Miller.
Wow. Just kidding. But everyone talking about the tank and all this different stuff, like the players are never, ever going to try and lose a hockey game, and we all know this. Where the St. Louis Blues are standing right now is a very, very similar position to the Winnipeg Jets. Like, they have a lot to play for. And, all season people have been talking about how perhaps last season was a bit of a flash in the pan. Maybe their rebuild or retool or whatever isn't going that well. Obviously, trading off Braden Shen just a couple of weeks ago here was like a huge shakeup to their lineup and all this different stuff. Like, these players have something to prove. They have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder where it's like, hey, nobody believes in us, and that's a very, very common band of brothers mentality that teams will have down the stretch here when they have those like sub 20% odds of making the playoffs and everything. And it's like, no one thinks we're going to do it. And that extra kind of motivator under their belt. So you have both of those things kind of set up for the Winnipeg Jets and St. Louis Blues kind of in this game to make it interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I have been pretty vocal for quite some time now that I'm not a fan of this St. Louis Blues group. They don't really do it for me. Like, I don't get excited about Jake Neighbors, to be completely honest with you. But wow. I can't, deny that they've been good down the stretch. You mentioned Robert Thomas on a bit of a mini heater since it was rumored that he might go to Buffalo or whatever. But yeah, he it's an interesting group, and they know the Winnipeg Jets. There are a lot of similarities between this group and the group that we saw playing here in Winnipeg in April. So, yeah, I think it'll be probably more interesting than their December matchup. Is that the last time they played? Was that December game? Or have they played once? I can't remember, to be honest with you. I should remember, but I don't.
I can quickly look.
It's a back-to-back. Eric Comrie's in net. Maybe that's for the best in terms of the St. Louis Blues being the kryptonite of Connor Hellebuyck or whatever you want to call it. But, the Jets didn't exactly, put their foot down and play 60 minutes of just like pure offensive domination hockey yesterday. So they might still have something in the tank, but also it's an older group.
Yeah.
Back-to-backs, tough schedule. This is going to be third game in 4 days kind of situation for them. So I don't really know what I'm expecting. I think that it'll probably be a relatively busy game. I think that it's probably not going to be the most crisp, clean, everybody is controlling all their moments. Like, I think there are probably going to be some lapses and little turnovers and all that different stuff that makes it not exactly run and gun, but a bit more on the chaotic side. But sure. I think it'll be a fun watch.
Yeah, Boring Sean Monahan has it in chat here. The Jets did play the Blues in January, beat them 3-1 on home ice. So it was the second night of a back-to-back after
it was on a Tuesday.
Taves and the Jets played in Chicago. It was the next night. Which, another one, look, shut out by the Hawks. That was another game. Sorry, I'm just getting riled up now. Looking at the Jets pass. Shut out by the Chicago Blackhawks. Like, anyways.
That was the day after I pulled an Austin Matthews and I strained my MCL, Connor, that I didn't shut up about for like 3 weeks.
Pulled an Austin Matthews. Who was your Radko Gudas?
Myself.
There was no one
non-contact sports.
There was no one to blame.
No.
Right.
No, yes. My Radko Gudas is the girl on my team who passed the ball under the net and made me lunge for it. because it was
There you go.
better than that.
There you go. Yeah, I got the Blues lines up here. Holloway, Thomas, Snuggerud, Kyrou, Buchnevich, Neighbors, Suter, Stenberg, Berggren, Sundqvist, Finley, Torpchenko. Their defense core, Cam Fowler plays like prime Bobby Orr every time he faces the Winnipeg Jets, so don't get fooled by him being on the third pair. That playoff series last year, he was awesome for the St. Louis Blues. And just as a final gut punch, we've brought up the 11-game losing streak too many times to count today. I searched up Jets Blues past results to try and figure out your question. And the second thing that popped up was Jets Blues May 4th, 2025, 4-3 overtime results. I was like, damn it. This is what a Sunday morning we're having, folks. What a Sunday morning we are having. But that's the Blues. Not sure who's going to be starting in net for them today. With the 2:00 start, there's no morning skate. There's no confirmed goalies as of yet. Money Puck, take it for what it's worth, has Joel Hofer as the likely starter. He always starts against the Jets, Manitoba goalie. So I'm sure he will get the start today in Winnipeg. And it should be Eric Comrie for the Winnipeg Jets. Now, I say should because yesterday we were joking in the press box that the Jets were winning, and if they had held on and maybe kept the shot counter under 22 or 23, then they'd run Hellebuyck back tomorrow and say, we're in a playoff push. We need this game. But Connor Hellebuyck actually was asked after the game list. I don't know if you caught this, but they asked him, would you want to play tomorrow? And he said, no, I hope not. Eric Comrie's been putting in a lot of work. He has earned it. So I think Connor Hellebuyck, the guy who wants to play all 82 games all the time, even said he hopes he doesn't play today. So I would assume it's Eric Comrie. I mean, there's always a part of you that thinks the Winnipeg Jets could run Connor Hellebuyck every single game when they believe they're in a playoff push, but this is an Eric Comrie game. It's the St. Louis Blues' second day of a back-to-back. So I think it'll be Eric Comrie versus Joel Hofer is my prediction for the goaltender matchup today. Liz, is there anything else you want to talk about on the Jets before we get to some of our segments on today's show? We've got.
I'm excited for what you have prepared for me, so let's get after it.
You're pumped. It's gonna spring a larger conversation on
this show. Never.
True. On the Winnipeg Jets, which this is what we're here to talk about.
What a take!
What a take!
It's like an AI summary of our show. It's gonna spring a larger conversation about the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah. Where's the M dash in that comment though?
Honestly, they're kind of screwed.
Yeah. True. Okay, let's get to it. First, before we get to my Chud's Power Sports Power Poll that I'm going to spring onto Liz and get her live reaction to, let me first give a quick shout out to our friends over at Chud's Power Sports. Now, Chud's, they've been serving Manitobans for over 80 years out at the corner of Highway 8 and 231 in Gimli. And Gimli is where the Winnipeg Jets takeover tour game is this week, Thursday, against the Boston Bruins. I know Huss and Remo were saying on the show last week, we're going to be heading out there, doing a show from out there. We'll absolutely pop by and check out the Chud's Power Sports Superstore out in Gimli. Again, it's a chilly one out there today. I mean, relatively for mid-March. We were hoping maybe, you spring forward. Daylight savings is on your side. Maybe it gets a little bit warmer. No, minus 21 right now, at least where I am in Winnipeg. So you want to cling on to the last couple days of winter. Chud's has you covered. You want to look ahead to spring and summer with trailers, RVs, boats, ATVs, quads. Chud's has you covered with everything with a ton of great deals in their store and on their website right now at chudspowersports.com. And every single Sunday, I mention it, you can click this red button in the top right, go to their e-commerce store, truenorthparts.ca, where they have a ton of discounted brands, hoodies, t-shirts, accessories, helmets, goggles, all of those things over at Chud's Power Sports. So check them out, corner of Highway 8 and 231. If you're coming to the Winnipeg Jets takeover tour game this week in Gimli, Jets Bruins Thursday, check out Chud's while you're out there and check them out online if you can't make it out to the Superstore, corner of Highway 8 and 231. Let's get to Liz. My Chud's Power Sports Power Poll.
I'm stressed.
Now,
I'm nervous. I'm having performance anxiety.
It is the top 5 lineup tweaks I want to see before we end the season. So this is very much a Jets are out of it take. Let's try some things. Let's experiment some things. Let's raise the Winnipeg Jets ceiling for opening night next season. Okay, these are some of the things I want to see. Starting at number 5, Brad Lambert playing up the lineup with some skill. Now, this is number 5 because I can already see the chat room is going to start blowing up that Lambert hasn't earned it. That's why it's number 5. I am totally in agreement. I don't think Lambert was great yesterday against the Avs. Really, this whole week, I don't think he's been that great with Barron and Koepke. But still, as the season progresses and you get further and further away from that playoff dream, I still think there's value in giving Lambert some skilled line mates. So while he might not have earned it, I still would like to see him maybe play with a player up the lineup and see if there's any juice there to Brad Lambert's game. Number 4, and this is also number 4 because it's not realistic at all, but Connor and Scheifele split up. I'd like to see some different combinations, and a lot of these ones in the top 3, they do play off of number 4. So Connor and Scheifele split up. I'd like to see Kyle Connor with some different players. I'd like to see Mark Scheifele play with some different players. That's number 4. Number 3, and I've been asking for this on WST Sunday Live for 2 full seasons now, Lyss. Cole Perfetti playing with Kyle Connor. I would like to see a 5 to 10 game sample of these 2 players playing together. You brought it up earlier. You think Kyle Connor is good enough to take different distributors and score 30 goals in a season? I agree with you. I think with Cole Perfetti on his wing, he can keep scoring, and those 2 might have chemistry. And Cole Perfetti, pending RFA, I think it would be wise to find out if he has chemistry with a guy you just committed $96 million to over the next 8 years before you enter that RFA negotiation in the offseason if you're the Winnipeg Jets. So that's number 3. Number 2, Elias Salomonsson up on the top pair with Josh Morrissey. Now, this to me is, if Neil Pionk comes back, this is where Salomonsson goes for me, because again, right now you're trying to win hockey games, you're trying to push for the playoffs. Yeah, Morrissey DeMello is probably your best option on the top pair because Salomonsson is playing in career game number 22 or 23 or whatever it is. But to raise your ceiling for next season, to gather all the information you possibly can going into next season, I would like to see if Josh Morrissey can play, develop some chemistry, tilt the ice with Elias Salomonsson and vice versa. Elias Salomonsson up with Josh Morrissey. I've really liked Salomonsson's game with Samberg, and I think it'll translate well with Morrissey. I know we say this in kind of a joking tone, Lyss, or at least I do, but I truly think that Salomonsson has a little bit of Trouba in his game. And not like the headshots and people think of Trouba nowadays, they think of like the dirty hits. Right now, Salomonsson doesn't have a dirty 5-game suspension on his record yet. But in terms of the skating,
he has some in junior.
In junior, yes. No, but in terms of the skating and stuff, I think there's a little bit of that there. And Morrissey played with Trouba back in the day, so maybe there's something there. And number 1, Isak Rosen, get this guy playing with some skill, please. I mean, if Rosen comes in and plays 21 games with 2 35-plus-year-old pending UFAs and see you later, see you next season, that will feel like a massive waste of time to me. I'm not going to lie. Like, he's a 22-year-old breaking into the NHL. I get it if for the first couple of games you want to give him some vets to kind of chill and get his feet wet in the NHL. They're already limiting his minutes. I mean, he played 3 shifts in the 3rd period yesterday. His final shift came with 7.5 minutes left. They're limiting his minutes. He's playing like 11.5, 12 minutes a game. He's not playing much. Play him with a Cole Perfetti. Play him with a Morgan Barron. Play him with some other players who actually might be here next year, Lyss, because Isak Rosen is going to be here next season. So my number 1 thing, and I honestly think there's a big gap between 1 and everything else on this list, is if Isak Rosen goes 20 games from the deadline to the end of the season playing with Nyquist and Taves, that will feel like a massive waste of time to me. So get Isak Rosen playing with some skill. What are you thinking here? Good takes,
yeah, I like this
takes?
list. Yeah, I mean, it's from you, so I have to temper my expectations. But
okay.
I think the thing about all these takes is you could kind of put this on an X and Y graph as well, where it's like things that I really want to see versus the likelihood situation, where totally get you on the Connor and Scheifele, whatever, split it up. It's not happening.
Yeah.
But the big thing for me is Rosen with some skill. While you started talking, I'll be honest, I kind of stopped listening to you because I started going off on like a little like rabbit hole where I'm like, other than maybe like a Cole Koepke. Anyone else in this lineup he could play with, and it would probably be an upgrade in terms of getting to play with some skill. There are options. It's not like, oh, like I really need to see him with Mark Scheifele or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's a little bit limited, whatever. You could put him with Lowry, with Velarde, with Scheifele, with Connor, with Barron, with Lambert, like anyone who's healthy in the lineup right now. Like I would be interested to see just some other sort of combinations and stuff. So that's interesting that there are options there.
They're scared. Listen to me.
That makes one person. But yeah, I really like a lot of these things. I completely agree with the Salomonsson and Morrissey take as well. And it's so funny. We were talking about this, I think, the other day, Connor, about how it's so funny that there's no young, unpolished left-handed defenseman for Dylan DeMello to babysit at the third pairing right now. It feels like
Alphonse Frey next season.
Sure. Okay.
I'm just throwing out a young, unpolished left-handed defenseman.
But it's like for the last 10 years, we've had any combination of Stanley, Sandberg, Heinola available that if Josh Morrissey had a different partner and, you know, also if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. I get that there's a lot of ifs here.
Liz, but how old do you have to be to not be considered young anymore? Because Ville Heinola is 24.
Because it doesn't matter. I'm also 24 and I feel washed. But I think the thing is that like Dylan DeMello used to be kind of that third pairing right-handed defenseman babysitter, and there used to be some young left-handed guys that could get some good NHL reps
Logan
and get
Stanley.
some, you know,
Stanley DeMello
exactly.
Was the third pair.
And it just, I don't think we even have any sitting in this organization right now. So it's a bit of a moot point where it's like, of course I want to see Salomonsson and Morrissey on that top pairing, but it's like, it sucks that like, we're not going to be able to, you know, get the most utility out of third pairing DeMello because he's just going to play with like Hayden Fleury or something like that. And it's like, okay, cool. That's just like a couple of guys out there. But I really like that one as well. Huge fan of Perfetti and Connor. And maybe I'd even go a step further and say, is Cole Perfetti the center on that line? Who's to say? I don't know. I know you don't believe in Cole Perfetti as a center as much as I do. I still think it's one of those things. It's like, I just want to try it. I just want to try something. And, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I really like this list. And I think that the biggest thing is that you got to do something down the stretch to make sure that these games are still meaningful. And if it's, you know, what I always say about, you know, if you're icing a hockey team, you just always have to make the product entertaining. If it's not a team that's going to win hockey games or win championships, make it a team that's young and fun and cool and give something people something to be excited about. Make sure you're playing meaningful games down the stretch. Okay. Like if you're not going to make the playoffs, because if you're going to try and push for the playoffs, that's meaningful. But if you're not, if it's out of reach, find other ways to make it meaningful for your team. So I totally agree with you that some of these have to be tried.
And I thought this is where you were going to go when you initially started your thoughts on the list. But any change right now needs to be met with the understanding that it's like, oh, if it doesn't work, what's the downside? You lose hockey games? Darn. Yeah. You're losing
and that
anyways.
Was the whole thing right at the beginning of the season with the whole Connor Scheifele
has no chemistry with Morrissey. Oh no, we lost to the St. Louis Blues and improved our draft position. Oh darn.
Yeah, absolutely. But like at the beginning of the season, it was like Connor Scheifele, Velarde are the only line that's scoring. Like you can't break them up because they're so good. Okay, cool. You don't even know what the other options look like because you haven't tried them yet, and they're so good. You're still losing hockey games, so I don't really see you lose by 2. Like you lose 4-1 instead of 4-2. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I totally hear you.
Yeah, and just another comment on the Salomonsson one. Like, I've seen some comments on that, just around, you know, try Salomonsson with Morrissey, all of that, and it sometimes gets met with that step up is too high for Salomonsson. Like that competition is too tough for him. He's playing with Dylan Sandberg right now in a shutdown role. Like the Jets haven't changed how they deploy Sandberg in this time where Pionk has been out and Salomonsson has been there. They're still getting matched up against the opposing team's top line. Today, Sandberg and Salomonsson are still going to be matched up against the Robert Thomas line. Like he's still getting the toughest matchups right now. So him going to play with, and the minutes, he's playing over 19 minutes a game as well. So him going from playing with Sandberg and getting the toughest possible minutes to going up to the top pair and playing the second toughest minutes and playing 19 and a half minutes instead of 18 and a half, not a big step up. Like, this isn't a big change for Elias Salomonsson. And
also, if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Like,
yeah, and it's not different at all. Like, he's playing in a top 4 role in a shutdown role. Like, I don't think it gets tougher than that. So playing with Morrissey might actually be better. They might spend more time in the offensive zone.
Absolutely, yeah. And the preference would be that the Jets have that second pairing that they really trust to shut down, and then you open up a little bit more of that ice because then, there's so many dominoes in the way you deploy lines in hockey and all that sort of stuff. But assuming that Connor and Scheifele are going to stay together, because that's always how they do it, you have that line that goes out there with the Morrissey pairing, and then they're getting ozone starts. They're not getting head-to-head tough competition matchups and stuff like that, and all of a sudden they can feast a little bit more. Like, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with you for sure.
And I see some people in chat talking about Perfetti with Barron and Roseanne. I'm here for that. Sure. I'm here. Yeah. Again, because
it doesn't matter.
It
cool.
doesn't matter.
See, look at that. Immediately upgrade.
You have a second line. Congratulations. The Winnipeg Jets. First time all year. Second line shown. Perfetti.
Okay, but actually though, straight up, you do something like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. You leave Connor and Scheifele together with Alex Iafallo or whoever you want to put there. And then you leave Gabe Vilardi with Adam Lowry. Like, talk about three lines. Like, I feel like that's a little bit more balanced. Like, I don't know. I'm here for
Interesting. Yeah. I also have a little bit of time. Again, like I said, I have time for everything because I just want to see something change.
You sound like me.
I have time for everything. You want to throw any lineup combination my way, I have time for it. You want to say like Gustav Nyquist, Villy as a forward? Okay, that might be a little far.
Even for me.
Even for you.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I mean, I have time for all of it. But what I was going to say is I also have a little bit of time for a kid line. Perfetti, Lambert, Roseanne. Try and create some kid line magic. Shelter their minutes. Play them in advantageous spots. I don't know, man. I got time for a lot of things right now. Another thing I have time for is coming out of the break. Morgan Barron is playing 10 minutes and 56 seconds per game at 5-on-5 lists. Jonathan Toews is playing 10 minutes and 52 seconds.
Okay.
So they are playing, like, these bottom two lines are exactly the same in time on ice. Morgan Barron is one of maybe like 3 players this season who has outperformed their expectation. I'd like to see him play a little bit more down.
Yeah, and I mean, you're was that 5-on-5?
5-on-5
average, you said, yeah, and he's also ripping out there on first unit PK pretty much every single time at this point. And then that wouldn't count again with
Taves is on the second power play unit though.
Yesterday, yeah, but I gotta think that the special teams usage is higher on Barron's penalty killing moments than. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm really not as high on that player as everyone else seems to be. When he talk about outperforming expectations, I'm like, yeah, like, but my answer, like, he's not going to be a second line player for the Winnipeg Jets. So, like, if you want to try that, sure. I don't really care. I just don't see it as like a long-term fit. So, but again, I fall into the category of you as well. Try anything at this point, like whatever works.
I'm also in the camp of whether or not you think he can be a long-term 2C solution for the Winnipeg Jets, which probably not now that I say it out loud, or like he's earned a promotion. Has he not? Like, he's earned more 5-on-5 ice time than Jonathan Toews.
I guess.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't think.
Okay, more than Jonathan Toews, I think is super, super
like
valid,
even if you think it'll work or not, which we've just prefaced this entire conversation off of, hasn't Morgan Barron earned a little bit more ice time in your dressing room when managing a team?
Yeah, but that's the tough part about hockey and balancing personalities and all the different stuff where it's like, sure, like you can earn whatever you want, but players still have ceilings. And I just don't know that there's a world in which this player
like, do the Jets get worse swapping Barron for Lowry tomorrow or today?
Yes.
In today's game. They get worse?
Yeah.
With the way Adam Lowry's playing these days?
Yeah, they do get worse. I don't think Cole Perfetti and Gabe Vilardi are going to look that good with Morgan Barron as their center.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I'm not going to lie. I could, well, okay. it's all relative because Lowry's getting this tough competition. How would Morgan Barron handle that? My stance is more just coming from Morgan Barron has played well in a fourth line role all season long. I think regardless of whether you think he can be some elite top six, top or middle six player, I think he's just earned more ice. I think you could just play him more. So that's kind of where I'll leave it. Let's move on to our next segment, trending up down. This is the part of the show where we pick one Winnipeg Jet who's trending up or down over the past week of play. Let me know in the comments down below who's your pick for trending up down. Lyss, I don't know who we picked last week. I don't know if you're
Morrissey and Scheifele for trending up, and then Lowry and Taves for trending down.
Lowry and Taves. Look,
yeah,
my entire argument right there. Anyways, okay, yeah. Let us know in the comments down below who is your pick for trending up down. Lyss, who's your pick for trending up?
Yeah, I'm going to pick a guy who some people in the chat were calling a little bit underrated earlier in the show. We gave a little bit of love earlier from yesterday's game. I'm going to give some love to Alex Iafallo. He's been pretty consistent throughout a good chunk of this season. And I think that, when that line was creating a little bit yesterday, I feel like he was definitely a part of it. And, we all, and by we all, I mean me, and I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus other than myself, but sometimes consider him a bit more of like a passenger, a plug and play sort of situation in that on that line, just because the duo is so steadfast and like they're kind of the focal point, and he's supposed to be more of a complementary piece to their skill sets and all that different stuff. I think he's been good in the last little bit here. I think that he's been doing well. So I'll give Alex Iafallo my trending up pick.
Okay, I like that pick. Iafallo was on my list. That's a great pick. I have a few players I could go with here. I'll go with Morgan Barron, just because we were just talking about him. I think he's still playing on the fourth line right now, and I think though that could change a little bit going forward. He did score the Jets' lone goal in the Anaheim game this week, and I'd like to see more minutes from him. And again, you look at a game like the Anaheim game where basically the entire team is not going. They finished the game with 13 shots on goal. He's a guy who, if his give a shit meter, for lack of a better term, is always cranked to 100. So I love that out of fourth line players, but also think that kind of effort and his production this season with 10 goals deserves a bit of a bump up the lineup. And in March, he has 3 goals already. He scored against San Jose, scored against Tampa Bay, scored against Anaheim. So he's having a good month. Him and Cole Koepke I really like as a duo. I enjoy the energy that they bring, the physicality that they bring. I think they cycle the puck really well. Lambert, I do think, complements them well with holding on to pucks in the offensive zone and creating. So I'm going to give it to Morgan Barron for trending up. He is my pick this week. I don't know how many times he's gotten it this year, Lyss, but I'd have to imagine
he's not as much of a mainstay in this segment as he is in the hardest working Jet segment that we do on the post game shows. He's a regular there. He frequents that establishment, that's for sure.
Yeah, he definitely at the end of the year is going to get the yearly hard hat for hardest working Jet of the year. That will be Morgan Barron. Who's your trending down pick, Lyss?
I don't know. I'm going to sit here for a second and think about it because I have a person I want to pick, and it doesn't feel right to do it because he hasn't been here for a super long time. But, this show is fun. We have a good time here. Do you know who I'm going to pick for my trending down pick?
Who are you taking?
I'm going to pick Jacob Bryson.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to take Roseanne. I'm like, I'm ready to fight this. Like, I think he's been good. Okay. Bryson, I can get behind. Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. I think he had a good first game here, and I think that he's a bit of a tough player because I think the transaction of coming here to Winnipeg was that they needed players to play, different things like that. And, you can go back and listen to Connor and I's show. Oh my gosh, what had it just been last week? Would have been our trade deadline, recap show and everything. We're talking a bit about it where it's like, it would be a very Winnipeg Jets thing to do to give him, an extension, see what works out, whatever sort of thing. But he has a lot of games in the National under his belt, but it was with a really, really tough Buffalo Sabres team. They didn't have a really good stretch there or anything like that. And if he was playing in a different organization, things might have been a little bit different. And yeah, just a couple blips over the last couple games that make you go, okay, Ville Heinola is sitting in the press box.
Wow. It's always about Ville.
It is. I was going to give it to Ville, but I gave it to him, or one of us gave it to him 2 weeks ago. So I feel like he's, earned another week of breaks because he was so good in the lineup when he was in it. But
sure.
Yeah, immediately gets plugged out, when Jacob Bryson shows up. Might get some games down the stretch here. Who knows? Don't really know that for sure. Obviously, this player is not going to be signing another contract with this club. Everyone knows it. The player knows it. The club knows it. Everyone knows it. But
everyone knows it.
I don't think that Jacob Bryson is a better hockey player than Ville Heinola.
Whoa. Sorry. Bringing the heat at 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Wow. I mean, from what I've seen from Jacob Bryson so far, I can kind of get behind that. I mean, Bryson had some moments. He's had some moments. He moves the puck well, but that pairing has just gotten absolutely destroyed. So to keep the theme rolling, I'm going to take Hayden Fleury for my trending down pick. This week it's been Fleury and Bryson on the third pair, and they've been on the ice for multiple goals against, just seemingly every single game they're getting scored on. Let me just quickly go and look. I mean, Hayden Fleury coming out of the break has played 7 games. His on-ice goal share is 7-2 in the opposition's favor. His expected goal share list is 29%. They are getting caved in the third pair's minutes right now. And Jacob Bryson, to your point, has been outscored 5-2 in his minutes. 33% shot share, 35% expected goal share. So you look at the underlying numbers, it tells us that pairing is getting shelled not only on the scoreboard, but also in the scoring chances, the shots on goal, all of the things that lead to goals that they are not controlling right now. And coming out of the break, that third pair has not been very steady. Do we see Ville today? Second day of a back-to-back?
I think so. I think so. What did Scott O'Neill say earlier this week?
He said there's a chance he gets in over the weekend.
No comment. Yeah, he plays today. Today.
Wow. I'd like to see Ville in. I mean, the thing is, here's the thing. Ville's not re-signing here. Like, what's
the point?
There's a 0% chance.
The only thing that you gain from it, because the Jets aren't making the playoffs, Ville's not re-signing here, is to try and do right by the player and let him showcase a little bit and all this different stuff, right? Like, that's the only scenario. So genuinely, there's no advantage for the Winnipeg Jets to play him, except if they're trying to get into the playoffs, they're trying to win hockey games. He's a better option.
Wow.
I need to go to bed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. If we see him today and he plays well and then comes back out on Tuesday, I don't even know what to say anymore because the third pair has not been good.
So yeah.
There's nothing to say. Sure. But yeah, I mean, I just brought it up. The third pair has been getting shelled in their minutes. So it's not performance based, but I think the reason they have Bryson and Fleury as the third pair right now is Fleury is here next year. So it's part of that information gathering, if you want, even though we know who Hayden Fleury is as a defenseman. He's a depth guy. And Jacob Bryson is a pending UFA that they might want to look at to re-sign as a depth guy for next year. And Ville Heinola, I think the Jets think that ship has sailed. And he will, the way he hasn't really played, he's gotten hurt a few times here in the organization, but when he's had a chance, he's been blocked and all of this stuff. I don't think he's going to be, he's expressed his frustration in the media a few times too. With the Finnish media article coming out earlier this year, I just don't see a world in where he re-signs with the Winnipeg Jets. Let's get to our final segment before we wrap today's show. We're going to wrap a little bit earlier today with the game being early, 2:00 down at Canada Life Center, Jets and Blues.
You gotta go shower and comb your hair, man. You gotta get down there.
I know. I gotta go. Drop your comments, questions. They are your one burning question in the comment section down below, and Lyss and I will try and rapid fire through as many as we can before we wrap today's show. Lyss, your thoughts on Isak Rosen's goal song? Did you catch what it was?
Yeah. Powered by Kanye West, right?
Yes, we did get a new goal song edition with, I forget what was Stanley's this year. We should know because he scored.
AC/DC.
Was it You Shook Me All Night Long?
Yes.
So yeah.
Because Mark Scheifele Shoot to Thrill, and then Morgan Barron is It's a Long Way to the Top?
Yes. No, that was last year.
Or last
Barron's
year. I don't know. There's
Fly
a lot of
Away
AC/DC.
by Lenny Kravitz.
Right, banger. That one's fun. That one's cool.
That is.
Good choice. Yeah, I thought it was good.
Good choice.
Sure.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wouldn't
have been my pick. Also,
shocking choice to me.
Didn't like the part of the song they chose all that much.
Yeah,
I thought
that's
they
a
chose
key
the
part
wrong
of it.
part.
That's a key
and
part
that's
of
a
it.
huge part. Yeah, that was my biggest gripe. Mark Scheifele's first goal song he ever chose. Trivia. Do you remember?
Oh, it's The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, and they played the wrong part of that song. I didn't like. They should have been playing a different part of it, and so it should have been a great goal song, and it was a mid goal song, which is too bad. So, yeah. What do you think of it?
I think it's good. I agree with you though. I think there are better parts of that song to choose. So we'll see. Maybe the Jets. It was his first goal. Maybe they'll switch it up. But no, I think it's a good choice. Is it an upgrade or a downgrade, Lyss? I will say
downgrade. I'd say
downgrade. Okay, interesting.
From AC/DC. From
sure, consider this: Luke Schenn had easily the worst goal song on the team. It was.
I don't even remember what it was.
It was No L's. I don't even know. Just saying it out loud. Like I don't even know who writes this song. No L's.
But we lost Tanner Pearson with Golden from K-pop Hunters or whatever it was called, the kids movie. So.
I would be okay with not hearing that song for the 8 millionth time if Tanner Pearson scored another goal. I feel like I've heard that song too often. But No L's by Forrest Frank. Like this is no shade whatsoever to Luke Schenn. That was easily the worst goal song. He did score a goal at home this year, so we heard it.
I do remember that.
People can go and listen. It's just a bad song, man. I'm not gonna lie. All right, let's get to our burning questions. We've stalled long enough. Doug, does Barron get more ice time than Taves today? I mean, since the break, they've been very even in 5-on-5 time on ice. I'll say yes.
I'm gonna say yes too.
Second day of a back-to-back. They'll lean on the fourth line a little bit more.
You know what? I've been dunking on Morgan Barron all show. For some reason, even though I really didn't mean to be, because I quite like that player.
You hate Morgan Barron, confirmed.
So true. I'm going to say that no, he doesn't. And I'm going to say it's because Oscar Sundqvist and Cam Fowler and Jimmy Snuggerud get penalties today. And the Winnipeg Jets spend a bit more time on the power play. And so...
Sundqvist penalty is a guarantee.
Guarantee. Lock it in. Cool bet lines.
Take it to Cool Bet. Got my Cool Bet hoodie on. Boom. What is the likelihood of Velarde or Perfetti getting a look at 2C this year, considering the lack of other realistic options from within the system? Great question.
I have a take on this, though.
0%. I mean, this is the Winnipeg Jets we are dealing with here. These are our Winnipeg Jets. So you want to put the likelihood of the Winnipeg Jets doing something like that? Probably pretty close to 0%. Perfetti was drafted as a center. So was Velarde. They seem very set on keeping them as wingers. I don't see it happening this season, even if the Jets are mathematically eliminated and there's still 10 games left, let's say, which probably won't be the case. They'll probably be mathematically eliminated later than that. But anyways, I still don't see, even when the games don't matter at all, them moving either of those guys to the middle list. I think there's a higher likelihood of them calling up Braden Yeager and playing him in the middle six for the last 5 games of the year than there is kicking either of those two to the middle.
I agree with you. I think that if the team wanted to see a longer look of those things, they would have tried it, earlier when Velarde was traded here. They would have tried it, when Cole Perfetti was
Nemestikov has been the 2C for
years. Exactly. Yeah. And which, when we see that when things aren't working, like they don't have a problem demoting Vlad Nemestikov. It's not like they think that he's Christ the Savior or anything like that. They just think that he's the best option that they have. So to me, that's pretty telling of what they think of Velarde and Perfetti's potential as a center.
Yeah. Another good question here. Will we see Villy play one more game before the season ends? Lyss, I'll throw this one to you.
I think so. I think he'll play a handful, a couple. Just here and there. It's Hayden Fleury and Jacob Bryson on your third pairing. It's not like these are guys that you absolutely have to have in the lineup. And, guys get hurt, things happen, whatever. I understand that, Pionk is probably on his way back at some point before the season ends. So that impacts things as well. But yeah, you got two left-handed guys playing your third pairing right now anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if they cycle him in just, because you wake up feeling a certain type of way in a certain type of morning. Not anything too deep. But yeah, I think he plays. What are we at here? Ville Heinola plays 3 more games for the Winnipeg Jets this season, and then we never see him in a Jets jersey ever again.
Terrible take. But at the end of the day, you'll be able to say that Ville Heinola lasted longer in the organization than Logan Stanley. You'll always have that, Lyss.
I'll always have that.
Even if he plays one game down the stretch. And I know Logan Stanley is like 3 years older than Heinola. I'm just rage baiting. Don't listen to me. Take some advice from Lyss. K-Berg, what would Connor and Lyss's goal songs be? Mine would be a Winnipeg. Do you have one, Lyss? Do you have an answer to this? Mine would be former Winnipeg Jets legend Sam Gagner's goal song was Mr. Brightside. And it was the first year they had goal songs, the personalized goal songs. I went to opening night. They played the Rangers. Gagner scored to make it 4-3 with 5 minutes left. And there was these new goal songs, and Mr. Brightside was blaring, and everyone loved it. People were singing along. I think that would be a great. It by no means is that like my favorite song ever. Like, it's a great song, obviously, but I just think the sing along factor, it's a banger. Ode to Sam Gagner, Mr. Brightside. What's yours?
You want to give an ode to a former Jet? I'll give an ode to a former Jet.
Yeah.
My goal song would be Hey Baby. No questions asked.
I mean, great pick. Great pick. The former Jet that you are giving an ode to should not be being mentioned on this show.
Who is it Rob brings up in the chat? Lyss also called out JT Miller for not playing or for not trying. I thought she would have played with their boy Fielding.
Great comment.
This would have been. I actually had this listed as one of my dream goal song options or whatever. The first year that the Jets did goal songs, and then they came out with them, and Pierre-Luc Dubois is Hey Baby, unreal. It would be a great goal song. And my biggest thing for goal songs though is I would want to pick something that people could sing along to, and that's such an easy one. So fun, so hype. So that's my choice. And actually, back in the day when I had to have a take though, when they first announced these and Hey Baby was already on the list, mine was, I can't remember who ended up taking it that year. Someone got traded or called up or whatever to the Jets and took my goal song. My goal song was Gimme, Gimme, Gimme by ABBA. That's what I was
it was David Gustafson. Was it not?
That's what I was going to say too, but I'm trying to remember.
The Swede. Yeah, Nyquist going with Waterloo by ABBA this year. It was David Gustafson. It was David Gustafson.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so.
It was.
You asked for one. Here's 100.
Well, Hey Baby is a good pick because the crowd just sings that anyways. In the third, right? When the Jets are up, they just sing that anyways. Doug, Jets
also, another take on that.
We'll answer this. Yeah.
I think that if there's a whistle within 30 seconds of playing time after the Winnipeg Jets score a goal, that should be the first song they play
every time.
Yeah, so say Morgan Barron scores. It's Fly Away by Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah.
You go out and the crowd is still cheering when you have your center ice face off, whatever, and you snap the puck around for 15, 20 seconds and the whistle blows again, keep playing it. Because the crowd is still kind of buzzing and excited and stuff. That. I think that they, that's been my take for a little while.
Winnipeg Jets game presentation. Hire us. Get us this on the line. Was it Gus or was it Nino? Interesting. Sorry, I wanted to. Maybe it was, but Nino, I feel has had the Disco Inferno.
I actually was thinking I was going to say Nino because was it that season where they traded for him? Because I think it was for that season.
That might be a great call. We have to go back and look.
Because I thought that year David Gustafson's was "I Love It" by Icona Pop.
See,
no, something else. Emergency by Icona Pop, which I thought was so funny.
See, that's a level of ball knowledge I just don't have. When you're bringing up those songs.
I don't know either. I'm making stuff up. We thought about one of these earlier this year, and I was so confident on it, and I was
right.
dead wrong.
It was Logan Stanley's goal song years ago.
I don't remember.
Because who was it? Isaac Poulter. We were like, what would your goal song be? Or something. Like
one of the Moose told us what their
he said an AC/DC song from the past, and I was like, that was Logan Stanley's goal song, and Liz was like, no way. And I was right. Doug, Jets have 3 call-ups left. Who do they call up? Bauer, Yager. I don't know the third one. Do you have a third one, Liz? I'm trying to think.
Anderson Dolan or Samuel I think about someone.
Yeah, sure. Jared Anderson Dolan.
Sure.
Good guy. Boom. That's my call. Will the Jets switch to the heritage jerseys full time? I hope so. I don't know what your take is, Liz.
Maybe. Down the road.
Who had Hey Baby? That was Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Correct.
Big time. All right. That's going to do it from us. We have hit the what's a good goal song part of the season. Not many better things to talk about regarding this team. This is one burning question. This is where it takes us. We're just rapid firing through all of these goal songs. Bordeaux, doesn't one Jet have Sandstorm as a goal song? Not currently, but that, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam Lowry season 1.
Correct.
Boom.
That is correct. Yeah.
See? Ball knowledge. Adam Lowry first season had Sandstorm as his goal song. Yeah, it was good. It worked. It got the people going. I mean, I don't know.
Good.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, we got to get out of here. We got to get to Canada Life Center. We got a hockey game to watch. The Winnipeg Jets take on the St. Louis Blues at 2:00 today down at CLC. Liz, next Sunday, not only will it be a tight game day edition of Sunday Live as the Jets play at 11 a.m. that day against the New York Rangers on the road, but it's also PWHL TakeOver Tour game day, and we'll be coming out of your event Saturday night. Super excited for that. Anything else you want to plug as next Sunday, big P-Dub game right here in Winnipeg?
Yeah, I mean, I think tickets are pretty close to sold out. So if you're not planning on coming down there, change your plans. I think it's going to be really, really fun, really cool to be a part of. I'm really, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really fun environment. It's going to be really neat to see that here. I think it's going to be really cool to see, the jerseys that I watch on TV all the time, physically in the building that I'm in all the time. Pretty cool. So really, really looking forward to that. It's going to be a fun day of hockey. Like you said, away Jets game that morning, that afternoon. Have a little bit of a gap in between the two, and then we go right into the PW game here on whatever time in the evening. So it's going to be a really, really fun day. I think the Jets play the day before as well. They have a matinee in Pittsburgh on Saturday. So they play another Saturday, Sunday back-to-back next week, I believe. Yes, so it's going to be a busy weekend of Jets hockey. The Moose are also at home that weekend and stuff. So lots going on. So never a dull moment. But yeah, really looking forward to the event that I'm hosting at Next Door Restaurant on Saturday night. A bunch of our local favorites are speaking at it. Annie Chipman from True North, Raquel Payne from True North, Danielle Bain from TSN. And then I also announced this week we're having an away panel as well. We got the home team, the away team.
Nice.
We have 2 folks from the PWHL coming in. Rosalie Authier, she manages the TakeOver Tour. She's like the event manager for those, which is really cool. And then Amy Shear, who's their EVP of Business Operations. Very, very cool. And then Kenzie Lalonde, who does play-by-play for a lot of the PW games as well. She's also the bureau reporter for TSN for Montreal. So pretty stacked lineup. It's a sold-out event. Very, very thankful for all the support we've gotten from everyone who's interested in attending. It's going to be tons of fun. And everyone's just going to be dialed, chatting all things women in hockey leading up to the game on Sunday. So, yeah, I appreciate everyone who bought tickets, and I'm excited to put it on for you.
Dialed. Very dialed. Well, we're all very excited. And I'm going to be asking everyone what their goal song would be if they were on the Winnipeg Jets and got the choice of their own personal goal song. It's going to be an absolute blast. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to the P-Dub TakeOver Tour game next Sunday. We will obviously be live next Sunday, 9 a.m. Winnipeg Jets game day and P-Dub game day here in Winnipeg. And before that, we'll be live all week long, 1 o'clock right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk with another full week of episodes as the Jets wrap up their homestand and then kick off a 3-game road trip going into the weekend. So thank you for watching this edition of WST Sunday Live. She's Lyss Houde. I'm Connor Hrabchak. Thank you so much for sticking with us this morning. Enjoy the Winnipeg Jets game today. Enjoy the Jets games this week. We'll be back Sunday at 9 a.m. But like I said, tune in tomorrow, 1 o'clock, right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk for more reaction to today's game against the Blues. Tyson and I will have you covered with the post-game reaction later this afternoon. So looking forward to that. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. And we'll chat tomorrow, 1 o'clock, right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a great rest of your Sunday, everyone. I know people in chat talking about the Oscars. The Players' Championship final round is on as well. There's curling, lots to watch outside of hockey, but also the Winnipeg Jets taking on the St. Louis Blues. So enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you tomorrow, 1 o'clock, right here on WST.